Today I'm going to show you all my Thomas DVDs that I have that are from Anchor Bay. Today I'm going to show you my Thomas DVD collection from Anchor Bay. So please enjoy. And in case a lot of these, I have some cases, and I have a lot of these that don't have cases. So yeah, let's get started. Here we go. I think I'd better if I put it on this paper right here. Because I just don't want to get the discs get scratched, because I have a lot of these DVDs don't have scratches. Enjoy. First, here's the first Thomas DVD ever made from Anchor Bay. Best of Thomas 2001 DVD. The first Thomas DVD ever made from Anchor Bay. And in case you're wondering about all my Thomas DVDs I have without cases are homemade DVDs. But it still uses the original contents. Don't worry, you guys. I'll just say the years that were originally came out. So yeah, that just came out in the regular time. Still plays like real content. So yeah, most homemade DVDs I made, they are not bootlegs. So yeah. Next, here's Make Someone Happy, another Thomas Adventures. Yeah, in case you're wondering about it, looks similar. It looks like it's a homemade writing. It's a recordable disc, but it still uses the original content because I burned a disc from my ISO file. So yeah, here's Make Someone Happy 2002 DVD. This actually would have been the first Thomas DVD ever made with Alec Baldwin for some reason. Yeah, Make Someone Happy 2002 DVD. Next, 2 copies of Best of James 2002 DVD, my homemade copy. Still use the original content from 2002. That's why it's an ISO copy, so it still uses the original content. So yeah, this is my old copy. This is my second one, most recent one. This is a better copy, and this is the messed up copy. The only thing that's messed up is just the intro. The rest of the stuff plays fine. So I don't have to. But that means I'm not throwing it away. So yeah, here's Cranky Bugs and other Thomas stories. Now I'm showing the case right now. Here's Races, Rescues, and Runaways 2002 DVD. Fills and Chills and Other Thomas Thrills 2002 DVD. Here's Best of Percy 2002 DVD. On the VHS tape, Best of Percy came out first, then Best of Thomas. I thought Best of Thomas came out first. But for some reason, Best of Percy just started on the Best of Collection. I know the last Best of Collection is Best of Gordon, which I'll show you later. So yeah, Best of Percy 2002 DVDs. Yeah, it looks like it's a homemade DVD, or a recordable disc, but it's not. It still uses the original content. Yes, it is. Yes, it looks like the one with writing is a homemade content DVD. It's a DVD Monostar disc. Some are double layer. Some are just a Monostar disc. So yeah. And here's Thomas and Friends Thomas Christmas Wonderland 2002 DVD. The DVD on the regular retails are very rare, hard to find. This is not very easy to find. It is on eBay, but it's very expensive. But it also did come with a CD sampler as well. And any Thomas Christmas Wonderland DVD had a CD sampler. The DVD is more rare than a VHS tape. So yeah, here's Salty Secrets and Other Thomas Adventures 2002 DVD. Yes, it is a homemade copy. It still uses the original content. Yep, burned a disc. And here's Thomas and His Friends Help Out 2000. I thought this is actually a 2002 DVD, either a 2002 or 2003 DVD. I'm pretending this is still a 2002 DVD, but it came out at the beginning of 2003, like January 2003. And it's the first Thomas DVD that uses with the Hit Entertainment logo on it. Now we start with Hit Entertainment logos now. And by the way, this is actually the last Thomas DVD ever made without the Hit logo on it. It still uses the Golang one. I think they probably still just made in the factory originally, and they didn't have the Hit Entertainment. Or maybe that's why they didn't have the Hit Entertainment. Still used the Golang logo. So yeah, and speaking of that, it's the last one I used the Golang one. So yeah, Now the first that doesn't have goalie ones. Now they're just head entertainments. First is Percy's Chocolate Crunch 2003 DVD. It's in my homemade copy. Yeah, the only thing I update on my Thomas DVD are my homemade copy. So yeah, still use the original contents. Fun with Thomas. This is a DVD sampler disc. Yep. And yes, still use the original content. Thomas Snowy Surprise 2003 DVD. I had to be careful because I don't want to get scratched up. James and the Red Balloon. Best of Gordon 2003 DVD, or either 2003 or 2004 DVD. I think this DVD came out in the beginning of 2004. But yeah, but the VHS tape was from 2003. So yeah. And that was actually the last Best of Collector's Edition of Tom's ever made, which is just Best of Gordon. So yeah, and that's the only Best of collection that uses the regular name boards on it for some reason. Now I'll start with 2004 discs. Thomas and his Friends Get Along. 2004 DVD. New Friends for Thomas. Yeah, it looks like they're all mostly you saw they're recordable discs, but still use the original content. Yep. Except those two I'm going to explain. Thomas and the Jet Engine, 2004 DVD. And I have 2 copies of Early Years on all 3 discs. 2 copies of disc 1 of complete first season on Thomas and Friends Early Years. I have 2 copies of disc 1. Disc 1, and yes, I do have all 3 copies. Well, originally on the second one, I was trying to burn disc 3, but I accidentally burned disc 1 by accident. But so instead of just getting rid of it, I decided to make 2 copies. Here's disc 2. And here's disc 3 of the Early Years. Now I have the Early Years DVD. Never did own Early Years. Hooray for Thomas. Percy Saves the Day 2005 DVD. I think the only Thomas DVD, homemade DVD copy that I burned that is just Michael Brandon. Yep. I remember I used to have Percy Saves the Day and Percy's Chocolate Crunch on DVD, but I didn't have it anymore, but now I have it again. So yeah. James Learns a Lesson 2005 DVD. Yeah, in case you're about I have a lot of these recordable copies. Still use the original contents. Yep, because I burned it from an ISO file. 10 Years of Thomas. Now we're starting with the showing the with the small case, flat cases on it. And then there's some of the copies that it's a regular case, but it's a flat one. The 10 Years of Thomas is my favorite one of all times. Sadly, there is no 10 Years of Thomas or DVD ISO on archive. So yeah. Thomas Comes to Breakfast 2006 DVD. My homemade copy. Thomas and His Really Brave Engines. On the VHS was the last one ever made from Anchor Bay, but it's not the very last Thomas DVD ever made. Sing Along and Stories. Thomas Gets Bumped. Thomas Percy and the Dragon 2006 DVD. It doesn't have a case, but this time it's a real disc copy. This time it's not a homemade copy. It's a real copy. This time, like I did show you Best of Thomas and Best of Gordon. On side with Thomas, the first Thomas DVD never had a VHS release. Only 2 releases with old hit logos on Anchor Bay had never had a VHS release. Thomas Halloween Adventures 2006 DVD. I believe this is actually the last Thomas DVD from Anchor Bay that uses the old hit logos. But I know the Come Ride the Rails was the very last Thomas DVD from use the old hit logo, but that's just from Hit Entertainment 20th Century Fox. But yeah. 2007 releases. Trust Thomas. You got some scratches. And the last disc I want to show you without a case, that is not homemade. So yeah. A Big Day for Thomas. 2007 DVD. Thomas in the Special Letter. Well, sadly, this doesn't have the original content. This is actually my homemade copy. This is a bootleg homemade copy, not the original contents. I did try to burn the original content, but it didn't even work. So it kind of has some issue problems. So it's a good thing I made my own copy because I want that so bad. I might show you another disc. I do have one other one, which is Trackside Tunes. I'll show you that later. Percy's Ghostly Tricks 2007 DVD. The last one I'll show you looks like the art, like the old artwork, like from the late 90s, wherever that is. Here's disc. Now here's the 2007 DVD of Thomas Gets Tricked. This is actually the first Thomas ever episode on a VHS tape. It was the very first Thomas DVD ever made, but it's not the same like the VHS. Yep, they didn't have Thomas Gets Tricked until 2007. It's actually the Thomas Gets Tricked in other stories, not like the season 1. I know they did have the very first Thomas Gets Tricked. I know they had Thomas Gets Tricked on the first episode on the early years and Thomas Halloween Adventures though. But yeah, but it's Ringo Starr, but George Carlin. It's from a Thomas DVD was Thomas Halloween Adventures. Here's the disc. James Goes Buzz Buzz, my homemade copy. Still use the original content. The homemade recordable copy. Still use the original stuff. 2007 DVD. In case you're wondering about my homemade DVDs that I showed you a lot, I just made those copies this year. Back, I remember I started burning since July of this year. Anyways, there's Thomas in the Toy Workshop. The last DVD I'm going to show you for 2007. Here's the disc. Percy's Take a Plunge 2008 DVD. I think the first Thomas DVD uses the new Anchor Bay logo. I did try my best that looks like the new logo. But mostly I make it better just like the old Anchor Bay logo. No, the first new logo, but not... I don't think they had the second new logo. They only had 2 different logos on these Thomas DVDs. I think until 2009 they don't do Anchor Bay anymore. Now they use like Lionsgate or Universal. Yep. And here's Trackside Tunes. This does not use the original content. I did try to burn the Trackside Tunes from an ISO file many times, but sadly it doesn't even work so well. It didn't play so well. I don't know why, but it's a good thing I made a homemade copy. But I had to download a video file and put it in an SD card, use the Blu-ray player to use that to record And since I finally have a DVD recorder nowadays, homemade copy of Trackside Tunes. But I did originally use the DVD Plus RW, but I put it on the desktop and burned that disc. This is a DVD Monostar disc. So yep. And these two homemade Thomas DVDs from Trackside Tunes and Thomas's special letter I showed you. These are actually our RW discs copies, RW copies. Like they're same, like it's recorded on a DVD Plus RW. That's why I did have my homemade Doobie logos at the end. So yeah, Mud Glorious Mud. The last one I'm showing with a case and the real DVD. Yep, the new Anchor Bay logo. Oh yeah, Trust Thomas, I forgot to mention, explain, that's the first Thomas DVD ever made with the new hit logo, is Trust Thomas. It's a good thing I showed you that. I have two more left. Henry and the Elephant 2008 DVD. And finally, Rusty to the Rescue. So yeah, those are my Thomas DVD collections that are from Anchor Bay. And yes, I'm only going to show you all my Thomas DVDs from Anchor Bay. I do have other Thomas DVDs, but that are not from Anchor Bay. I'll only show you my Thomas DVDs that are only from Anchor Bay. So yeah, which is Anchor Bay only. These are all my Thomas DVDs that I have that are from Anchor Bay. So yeah. And yeah, what's weird, most of my homemade Thomas DVDs uses ISO file except two, and some are just a real disc. So yeah, and some are just plain ones. So yeah, this is the homemade copy. Yeah, the reason why you saw these homemade discs because I burned with an ISO. I had to download a file and then burn a disc. I just had to burn this stuff online since I don't have one. This is a real copy, homemade print. This is a real copy. Yeah, yeah. This belongs to there. I just had to be careful. I didn't have to worry about. See, I just want it in the orders. So yeah. So yeah, there you have it. Those are my Thomas DVD collections that are from Anchor Bay. I think this is all I have. So yeah, so far. I didn't know what I was missing. I think that's all I have. This is all my Thomas DVDs from Anchor Bay I have. So yeah, so far. So yeah, thanks for watching.